the night. He does all these live interactions with all the different stakeholders around the globe. And he really does it super well. He really does it well. And we have a beautiful container studio now, which he
really
every day. Yes. I mean, it's really amazing. It's amazing. But as you said, it's just not the same. It's not the same. And we really do hope, that in a year's time that the Watches and Wonders will be live as you know it again in Geneva. But let's see. So next week is then Shanghai. Shanghai will be live. But yeah.
Is anyone going, or just the people who from IWC?
Yeah, we have the local teams there, and because it's very difficult to, I mean, you could potentially go, but then you have to quarantine, I think, even for a month nearly. So so it's really challenging. Yeah, you know that maybe, Johannes, right? I mean, it's
you have to at least 2 weeks. You're quarantined in the hotel, which you can't.
They tell you where, right? I mean, they tell you.
Yes, they decide where you're going to be. And after that, I don't know what the latest, then we had like 2 weeks plus 7 days quarantine at home. So it was like 3 weeks recently, but it has been changing.
Yeah.
So back and forth, you spend a month in quarantine.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, really a lot. I mean, a week is already a lot, right? Yeah.
Are we good to? Hi, Luke and Amanda.
Hi, Luke.
I mean, we'll be able to edit this, won't we? So if we you won't, Francesca, because you're so succinct and on point. But if I waffle on, or we want to go back and re-answer a question, then we can do that, because we'll be speaking longer than ultimately. Is that the case, or do I misunderstand?
Jetzt muss man schnell helfen. Jetzt habe ich alles durcheinander. Das ist jetzt gerade ein bisschen schwierig. Yeah. Yeah, we just have to quickly fix something. No, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
recording is running.
Yes, so this will be a very short intro because we already have recorded the whole intro from this WWD Sustainability Summit. So it will be about 1 minute intro, and then we go right to the questions.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
I think it's fine, right? Yeah.
So that one little tweak, say.
One more mic tweak.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Let's start. For this conversation in the WWD and IWC Schaffhausen Sustainability Summit webinar, I'm joined by 2 women who have been exploring the topic of sustainability together for some time. Cate Blanchett is, of course, a highly respected actor, producer, and a leading figure in the film industry, but also a passionate advocate for sustainability. Cate has been in conversation with IWC Schaffhausen's head of marketing and communications, Franziska Gsell, over the last couple of years. And I'm very excited to have them here with us today and for them to share their unique perspectives on sustainability. Cate, Franziska, welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Johannes.
So let me start right away with the big question. So what does it mean for a business to go green? This has been the topic we have been discussing a lot. How important is it for companies to go above and beyond greening up and instead actively trying to have a positive impact? Cate, maybe you could share with us a little from the movie theater industry, of the fashion industry where also you're close connected to.
Well, I mean, apart from the moral and ethical imperative to act upon the real science behind climate change and the unsustainable way that I think a lot of the luxury industry has been laboring, the way they've been making, producing, selling, consuming, and certainly the cultural industries, my domain. There's a lot of unnecessary waste. Apart from all of that, and the fact is, I don't think any business, whether it's a creative business or, whether you're selling watches or you're putting on plays or making movies, you don't want to be irrelevant. And I think you don't want to be uncreative. And I think that waste is unnecessary waste, and unnecessary planetary damage is neglectful and lazy. And it's an uncreative way to work. Because I think that, when we greened our organisation at the Sydney Theatre Company 15 years ago, a lot of people that we worked with said, what does this have to do with theatre? But we said, well, what if people entered the theatre space and they were able to have a really positive experience? Because a lot of the language around climate change is about sacrifice. What if they're able to have a positive experience that, and they walk out realising that their carbon footprint has been massively reduced from what it was in their previous theatrical experiences. And that's a win-win situation. And you start to, we didn't really realise at first, but it started to change the creative energy in the building. And it made us a really relevant, front-footed, progressive theatre company. And so the way we then started programming, it influenced the way we started thinking creatively. And I think that's the thing about sustainability and changing one's business practices, is it makes your organisation much more dynamic, I think.
Was it easy to execute it? Because I think many people, when they think about the theatre or cultural business, that's sustainability is not really the first thing that they would think about. So how did the staff and everyone react to these changes?
Well, I think initially we had to challenge our habits, but you have to do that when you live a creative life anyway. And as soon as we got into the swing of things, it just became the new normal. And it became actually easier. It changed the way we were sourcing the woods to build our sets from sustainably grown woods. We had green parameters for all of the sets that we built. So the aesthetics of the theatre company started to change. So in fact, it made things faster and quicker. Strangely, but initially, there is an inertia, any pivot that any organisation makes.
Yeah.
But it's not just the theatrical, and then I know a lot of theatres are doing this now. There's a lot of cultural organisations that are putting greening front and centre. But it's also, the film industry, I know that there's an initiative between the British Film Institute, the BFI, and BAFTA. They've had a massive report having green parameters for the film industry as well, because of course, it's just lazy thinking to have water in plastic bottles when you don't need that. There's many ways to do things, but also we shoot things digitally now. Like we talk about the technological revolution, but we've got to use these things to not only to our creative benefits, but for the benefit of the planet, I think.
Thank you, Kate. Franziska, from your point of view, we just heard is that it actually made lots of things easier. How is this for IWC Schaffhaus?
I think, first of all, we produce a sustainable product as such, but as long as everything that goes in that product is responsibly sourced, responsibly done, and I think this is the commitment we have to give, that across the entire value chain, that we look into every step and really challenge ourselves, that everything that is put in that watch from the sketch at the beginning until you are wearing it, that everything is done responsible, because the product as such will take forever if you treat it well. We are now around for 153 years, so some of our watches are still ticking. So that means that this commitment we are giving has to be like that we save our planet and that everything we do is responsibly done. And I like the examples you just mentioned, Kate. When we changed, for instance, I think that was 2 or 3 years ago, our shopping bags, we removed our silver-plated logo, for instance, and changed for black, which means now they are 100% recyclable. And it's anyhow, as you just mentioned it, 100% FSC Forest Stewardship Council certified material, so that you know even those things are changing, you know, that you look into it, and that you look into all the packaging you do. That what you just mentioned for film sets, I mean, it's not so different to us, you know, that we look into our events when we are then doing physical events again. Of course, now we have to shift, but if you're going back, you know, that you think about anything that matters, you know, as you said, the bottles, but in our case, even the boutiques, you know, that you look for material for wood, which is FSC certified, so that you really challenge the entire way. And being green, I mean, that is important and should move us because it comes from our hearts, right? I mean, this is really for the next generations.
And I think too, sorry, just to say that if you give people that you're working with agency, you make them part of the change. Because you're talking about those small details, like it's on shopping bags seems like a very sort of inconsequential small detail. But if someone in your organization comes up with that idea, or the fact that we're going to change the menu in your cafeteria, or at your event, you're going to have ethically sourced food, all of those details go in to make up a massive pivot, like a profound big change that the entire organization can own.
I agree. I mean, Kate and I were talking about that recently, a couple of months ago, and these are the small changes you can generate by just listening to the employees, to all the different stakeholders, that you are open for this conversation and then change for the better. And this is a good example with the organic food, which is then regional and seasonal, so that we, with little steps, can make a big difference. Yeah.
But you also both.
I think, sorry, we even had, I think that was 2 years ago for Christmas, you know, that we gave just in our intranet, you know, ideas, you know, how to wrap the gifts, you know, that you think about how you wrap them, what laces you are using, there you can make a difference as well, right?
Yeah, you both have mentioning now the concept of time and the concept of lasting, which brings me to my next question, because shop your closet has become such a big topic over the last year. And I know, Kate, you often shop your own closet for important events.
Right now, I'm shopping it now.
Right now. So I think IWC, with its focus on luxury lasting a lifetime, echoes the sentiment wholeheartedly. Would you agree on that?
Look, when I was at high school, I was very obsessed with William Morris and the firm, you know, and he set up this organization in England in 1861 to bring back craftsmanship. I did, you know, my final sort of essay at school was about the William Morris firm. And so I've always been a great lover of things that are built to last. And now, on a very small personal level, our entire family, like all families, all of us have been through birthdays in lockdown. And so rather than purchase extra things, we've re-gifted things to one another. You know, and I have 3 sons, you know, one of whom is a great watch fan. So that was a no-brainer. He just got a watch, one of my watches. But there's ways that you can sort of interchange things with friends and family, not only shop your own closet, but you can pass things along. Upcycle, I think, is the term. But, you know, I think that, you know, we talk about fast fashion, like a book I read recently, Dana Thomas's Fashionopolis, is all about the perils of fast fashion and what's going to be the future of luxury and clothing. And I think that we're obsessed with the next, the new, and the fashion cycle it is unsustainable. You see so many people burning out, but also the planet is burning out as a result. And I find that if you go back in time in your closet, and you don't have to purchase something new every year, you might purchase one new thing, but you mix it with where you've been, then you end up having a much more distinctive sense of style, your own unique sense of style, and you don't become a victim to fashion. So it actually has a kind of an aesthetic benefit, I think, as well.
You are a truly global citizen, so from Australia to California. When you reshop your closet, do you know where your things are, and how do you decide what to reshop for a big event?
I'm pretty spontaneous and a very efficient packer. I mean, like everyone else on the planet, I have not been traveling at all, and it's been a massive a massive relief. But I think we've had to make a sense of occasion. So, I've been wearing a couple of ball gowns at dinner occasionally, like a crazy woman. Francesca and I were speaking just before we started the Zoom about, having to get dressed occasionally, because you just have to mark an occasion. And so it's, I've been going, in a fanciful way into my closet, not just on a practical level, but yeah, I don't, I adore clothes. I adore things that are well made, from, watches to jewelry to whatever, but I also think about the things that I'm going to pass on to my children. So I do take care of the things. I don't wear them into the garden, although I have a little bit on lockdown, one of all down into the garden. But, yeah.
So Franziska, Kate just mentioned fashion is so much, has been so much obsessed with the next, and always a new thing to come. While watches are made to last for generations, as you said before, and therefore I think watches have an inherently sustainable quality itself. How you see that the speed and the need for new in fashion and the concept of watch being sustainable itself, Franziska?
I mean, of course, we are working a lot into new materials as well. And there, I think the change in fashion towards innovation is giving us new ideas and new products as well. We just launched a new fiber plant-based strap the other day, the Timber Tax, which is 80% on natural FSC certified plant fiber. But even, these, what you just said, this giving a second life. So thinking about even used straps, to take them back and do something with it, or that we collect and recycle our scraps from production in precious metal, but also in steel, and reuse it. And so second lives for boutique windows, for instance, that is an interesting topic as well. And yes, I very much appreciated, or before talked about the packaging, when we changed our entire packaging system, not just to protect the watch, but to give even that product, or build it as a product in its own right, so that you have a travel pouch to take with you, which is not waste, and it's not big, and it's really small and condensed to what you need when you travel. I mean, these are very beautiful topics to work on.
Mm. You both have shared now from your industries and from your backgrounds the concept of sustainability. Can I ask you both, why is it sustainability important to you personally? Kate, maybe first.
Well, I have 4 children, and so I think about their futures every day. Just on a selfish level, I think, well, what is it going to be like for them? They're not only have their exams been cancelled, fortunately we've all been healthy, and we're in a very privileged position in so many ways, but they're part of a whole generation. And I think that as a parent, I look at them and I think, I want to make sure, do I do everything I possibly can in my small way to try and make a difference, and impart on them that they can make a difference, and to imagine a positive future. Because I think it's off what you were saying, Francesca, too. It's a joy to make these changes. It's inspiring to make these shifts, particularly when we realized that the world that we were laboring under wasn't serving so many millions of people. It's not a very positive, I don't want to re-emerge from lockdown, from the pandemic, just doing the same old. I mean, it's a chance to really deeply re-examine what our values are, and the way we want to live, and the way we want to work, and the way we consume, and what we consume, and how we consume. And so I try and impart that on my children. Really, it's about them and their generation. It's not about me.
Franziska, you're a mother yourself. I think your boy is now 10 years old.
Yes.
What's
he just turned 10. And I think it is very much what Kate says, it's really the decision we take now to decide, what world we live for our children. And I just had yesterday, I was sitting in our garden with my husband, and then we were discussing about our son, and said, I mean, it's amazing, how he thinks about what he can contribute to make the world better. And when I was 10, in all honesty, I was just playing, right? I haven't had to think about it. And when you see the little ones, I mean, he's, even stopping people in the streets when they are trying to throw away plastic bottles. And he started that when he was 7, when I first felt like, okay, maybe that is a bit too much of approaching people. But he said, like, why have you picked a plastic bottle? You could have bought a glass bottle. And if you take them, make sure that you put it in the right bin. I mean, these are things, we have to care for. And I had the other day, a great colleague of mine said to me, when he explained sustainability, he said, like, that's humanity coexisting with nature. And I think he really beautifully expressed that, because it is true. I mean, we need the nature. We talked about the FSC certification, how important our forests are, that we think about, before we cut trees, that this is actually the weapon we have to fight against climate change. It's the most important one. So us as customers, we have a choice. And we can, even companies which might be slower in adapting, force them to adapt by questioning what products they produce. And I think that power gives you the hope, because you can be overwhelmed, right, by what is happening around us. But there is hope. And there is hope for the next generation. And we build that. It's in our hands. Yeah.
And I think in the same way that as parents, we have responsibility to make the change, on behalf of the younger generation, the generations behind us or in front of us, whichever way it is. I think larger organizations have an enormous responsibility to start utilizing these really available technologies, so that they make them cheaper for smaller companies. So I think the more people who buy into these very possible real shifts, there are organizations, like there's one company I was reading about in Germany, Kleidely, that actually takes waste, textile waste, and reforms it into new textile material that can be used. Now, the more luxury brands that pick up that technology. There's a company in Paris called Pulp Fashion that makes clothes from paper. And there's an old ancient Japanese tradition of making clothing out of paper. And the more designers actually employ those materials for make astonishing aesthetic sort of advances, then other industries, the high street shops, can start also using those things. So I think it's all interconnected.
Kate, you also have mentioned before, I'm also a big fan, you mentioned William Morris, one of the founder of the
I thought I heard you go,
Because I'm personally from Vienna, and I know you're in Budapest now, and I think the whole Jugendstil and Art Deco, the arts and crafts movement of the early 20th century is so much based on his amazing ideas. So if you already mentioned earlier in our conversation this name, and I also know that you have spoken previously about how it's paramount to look back on the past to find inspiration for future creativity. Could you give us an example, or could you give us a few examples what you meant with that sentence?
Well, culturally, I mean, I think works of literature are constantly referencing earlier tropes and ideas and stories. And I know that, forgive my French, but theatre is a bastard form. It's always stealing from what's gone on. Shakespeare was, stole so many ideas from Greece and Rome and stories, and made them his own. And I think that we're always hybridizing in culture, just from an aesthetic, literary point of view. And I think that when we can do that physically, I think it's really dynamic and exciting. I think I'm not the first person on the planet to say it. I mean, many people far more intelligent than I've said it, but we don't understand the present unless we look back on, look at the Spanish flu in relation to the pandemic. Yeah. What lessons have been learned, what lessons have been lost. And I certainly don't want to not have learnt the lessons from the last 50 years, or basically since the Industrial Revolution, which is what William Morris was so, and the arts and crafts movement was trying to sort of counterbalance in a way. I don't want to end up in 50 years' time not having reacted positively to the very real changes that are happening because of human imposition. You know, we need to make the changes now.
So, Franziska, what role does the past play for the future of creativity at IWC?
It has an enormous important role, because I mean, all our watch families have very strong historical roots, and whenever we redesign a watch collection or a new reference, we look into the past, of course, but we meet then the present and think about the future when it comes to materials. We just launched a new big pilot in a 43 millimeter. The big pilot is a 46 millimeter. When we think about pilots' watches that they have been aviation tools, so there were tool watches at the beginning when they were produced 85 years ago, and the big pilot was coming to life nearly 20 years ago, but at this time, it was, of course, a very big watch, the 46 millimeter. It still is big. And now with these more ergonomic 43 millimeter, then we have an ease exchange strap system where you have the possibility to change the strap for rubber, for textile, for leather, for steel. And I think this, gives you then just a new angle to a product which was existing, which is coming from the past, but meets then the wearer of today and the future. And when we look at watchmaking as such, I mean, it's a beautiful art. It is skills developed over centuries. I mean, that is part of the cultural heritage of Switzerland, even to protect the watchmaking skill set. And we build our own watchmakers here in Schaffhausen. We have apprenticeship program to really make sure, that this art is living for the future. And of course, we have modern technology, modern machinery as well in the process today, but there are many steps, and Kate knows that, which can only be done by a trained watchmaker. So this human element is still very, very important when you produce luxury timepieces. So the human element and the skills at the art of manufacturing is something we protect very strongly in Schaffhausen here as well, because all the watches are made in Schaffhausen, if you think about that as well. 153 years, our founder, Florentine Ariesto Jones, came from Boston to Schaffhausen to use the hydropower of the River Rhine and bring, this modern technology at the time to Switzerland and kind of marry it with the skill set of the Swiss watchmakers. And still at the very same place, we are producing till today our watches and then deliver them to the different fans of IWC in the world. So they're all produced in Schaffhausen.
So you just mentioned the apprenticeship. Could you elaborate a little more? What's the apprenticeship program at IWC? How you support young craftsmen, or how you support arts and crafts?
And women.
And women, absolutely.
Yes.
And women. We have women watchmaker as well. So it's an apprenticeship where you learn the art of watchmaking over 4 years, but until then you are able to manufacture the high complication. It needs you 10 years. So I mean, that is really, I'm still very impressed, when I sit close to a watchmaker, how they can do that, with these tiny little parts, and at the end the movement really works. I just did it once, and that was just a kind of little trial session, and after 2 hours I was completely stiff. I had a headache and I was nearly blind, and I felt like, it's unbelievable with the dedication.
Concentration.
Yeah, they are working. Yeah.
Kate, you're also good friends with many fashion designers. Do you see that there's a new trend coming along, that fashion design is more focused on arts and crafts and more about creating lasting products instead of the new, especially after our COVID year we had?
Yes, I don't think I'm alone in raging against the sort of the inbuilt obsolescence to so many items of clothing that we end up buying, and for not an inconsiderable amount of money either. The people who I greatly admire in the fashion industry and in the luxury industry are all wanting to design garments and items that stand the test of time. I think that's that's a sense of it gives them a sense of pride and self-respect, I think, in, you know, to be able to produce things that last. Because I mean, anyone can make something that breaks. There's no humanity in it. There's no care in it, and there's no love in it. And I think you can really feel that when you wear. It's like when your grandmother knits you a sweater. That's the sweater that you hand down, you know, to your children, because you know that it's been made with care. Someone actually has taken the time and put a lot of consideration and effort and skill into making something for you that you can then pass on. And I think that you can feel that.
Mm. Thank you so much. Luc, I'm sorry, I have to check with Luc because we are now through the questions we had prepared. How are we doing so far time-wise?
I have early onset dementia. I cannot remember everything I said. I don't know. Is there anything else that we want to talk about? I feel like
Franziska.
Yes.
Super happy. I think it was a very, very pleasant conversation, as always. I
wish it was face to face. I wish.
Yes,
but these conversations have sustained me, Francesca. I've seen you more than anyone else that I know.
Yeah, see? And you know, last time we met virtually, that was in August, and there we felt like next time we see each other in person, and
I know.
it was not right.
We thought it would be now.
Yes, yeah.
But it will happen.
No, I'm very happy. I'm very happy.
I'm sure it will happen soon.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
We will all be in the same room at one point in the not too distant
Yes, looking forward to it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Yes. Okay, so Franziska, how important is it for IWC to go above and beyond greening up and instead actively trying to have a positive impact?
It's very, very important. And first of all, it's very beautiful to work for a product which is sustainable as itself, right? And then what we really have to take care of is that every step, every move that goes in that final product is really very responsibly done. And that is what motivates and drives us. So our products are for a very long time. They tick forever. If you treat the product well, you hand it over to the next generation. So it's only right, you know, that you look into all the environmental and social impact that every step in the production which is done adds. So sourcing, production, marketing, events, retails, it's really from the sketchbook to the wrist that everything is done responsibly. And we talked before about, you know, big and small things you can do. When we, for instance, 3 years ago, then changed our shopping bag and removed the silver plated logo of IWC and changed for black one, and have now 100% recyclable shopping bag, which is FSC certified 100%. So then it's just the steps you have to undertake, and where we actually lead in our report, in our sustainability report, to it as well, so that we give this commitment. And this being green, what we just spoke about, is really dear to our hearts. I mean, we are the ones changing the processes for the future generations. So everything comes really from the heart.
But it does, Francesca, it makes sense, doesn't it, to given that what IWC makes is a lasting, it's a legacy product, isn't it? Yes. So it's you make a product that lasts. So it makes sense for just intellectually and psychologically for the company to make those changes that also mean that you're having a sustainable business model with sustainable products that surround the central core product. Otherwise it's a, it makes sense.
It has to be this commitment, because I mean, this product you are purchasing is with you forever and ever. So you have to be sure, that everything that goes in is really done with care, and most responsibly choices are made for that product. And that is how we open up to our audience, right? That we share what we do, that we talk about what we are doing, that we foster the conversation, that we get feedback, and that we give, this window into our industry so that you see and understand what you can ask for.
Mm. Do you want me to re-answer that question as well? So what was the question?
We were happy, right?
Yeah, sure. So, Kate, you have spoken previously about how it's paramount to look back on the past to find inspiration for future creativity. Could you give us a few examples? You just mentioned William Morris and the British arts and crafts movement.
Well, if you look at the pyramids, they're still standing, aren't they? So something was working, and there's so many buildings that have been built in the last 40 years that have fallen down, that the wrong materials have been used in earthquake zones, or it's just a thoughtlessness. Whereas, stone was very difficult to cut. So you had to measure it. You had to have a sense of profound craftsmanship, but a sense of longevity of your thought. If you're going to build something, you can't build it twice. It's not financially or physically possible. And I think about, say, the artist Andy Goldsworthy, who I'm a great admirer of, is that he has built these incredible works of art using techniques of dry stone wall building that are almost lost in the United Kingdom. And so by reinvigorating his own artwork and looking backwards at the depth of craftsmanship, he's reinvigorating the way people are building walls again. Because of course, if you build fences and walls from plastic products or unsustainable wood products, that's not good for the planet. But if you go back and you learn those old techniques, you will have walls like in Cornwall. They're all built that way, and they're still there, and they've been there for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, and they are so beautiful. And they're part of what makes the Cornish countryside beautiful. So, craftsmanship is an enormous inspiration, I think, for artists, artisans, and for just, regular consumers like myself who might want to build a fence.
Thank you, Kate. Franziska, would you agree this is something IWC champions too, looking back to the past for finding new creativity for the future?
Absolutely. When we start with the product as such, that all our watch families date back many, many years. For instance, when you go to the Pilot collection, which is dating back 85 years and was at the time produced as a tool watch for aviation, and now you bring that into the present and into the future and rework materials, rework variability of a product. We just launched our new Big Pilot watch. The Big Pilot watch, originally the icon was born in 2000, so nearly 20 years, or 20, no, that was wrong. It was 2002, so nearly 20 years ago. And now we bring a more ergonomic solution in a 43 millimeter with a new strap option with an easy exchange system. But the inspiration goes really back 85 years. So it's still this pure design of a tool watch, but actually gives the wearer can use it now as a sports watch. So that is really embedded in the past. And when we then look at the unique skill sets of a watchmaker as well, which the skill set is really dating back centuries. I mean, and we pass that to the next generation of watchmakers. So we have an apprenticeship program in Schaffhausen to train our next generation of watchmakers. And when you think about that, I mean, that is this is the pride of Switzerland, right? I mean, this is cultural heritage, you know, that we keep those skill set alive in Switzerland. Yeah.
Okay. So what are the little things in daily life that we can all do to make this world a more sustainable one? Kate, please.
Well, being Australian, I'm obsessed by water and the lack thereof. So, you know, something that we've been doing over lockdown is we've been living in the country. We found a whole lot of old zinc water butts that we've sort of refashioned into functional water butts that feed our garden. Because of course in England they think it rains all the time, and so no one's thinking about water capture. But of course the lack of water is a global issue. I mean, one can have a water bottle. I mean, if you take into your place of work, if you take in recyclable containers that you constantly reuse, someone in the lunchroom will say, when we eventually get back into the office, will say, oh, and they might start doing it themselves, and all of a sudden you can have in your own small way, have an influence on the workplace culture. But I think probably my big thing is water.
Thank you. Franziska.
I grew up in Schaffhausen, so in a village very close to Schaffhausen, and we had a garden. And what I keep is, you know, that I try to only eat seasonal food, organic seasonal food from the region. And I think there we can make a huge step as well. And what I try as well is to bring my son and husband into not eating that much meat, because I think that is a challenge as well, so that you reduce the consumption of meat and change that behavior as well. And maybe the third thing is, you know, that we constantly think about how we can influence the companies around us, so that before we purchase, we think, we investigate, we research a little, we challenge ourselves whether that is something which we really keep for a bit longer, and that we rely on trusted certifications. And I think that is what we can anyhow all do.
And I think we do have we've been talking about organizations and companies, but we do have powers as a power as a consumer. And I think we as consumers need to start demanding products that last.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you so much, Kate and Franziska, for our, sorry, I have to go again. Thanks so much, Kate and Franziska, for joining us today for our sustainability talk here on WWD. It was truly inspiring. I just want to mention again what Kate said. Sustainability, everyone can do something about that, and we shouldn't underestimate the power that the consumer has. And if we treat products we buy, just like Kate mentioned, if it's a grandmother's knitted sweater that you will keep, if you have these affections to the products you buy and cherish them, then I think we all can make a big step toward a sustainable future. Thank you so much again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank
Yeah, you take care. See you soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Right.
Sure. Yes.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Johannes. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Kate.
Take care. Bye. So hi to Chris.
I do. Thank you.
Bye.
Yes. Oh my God. Okay. Oh, okay. Yes, I don't have a makeup artist here, so let's give it 1 second. But okay, is it better? Well, we can completely darken the screen, actually.
A little bit more. Okay.
We even can get rid of the white thing.
You mean the I'm slowly wait. What about that? Because if I keep going, it will be like wait a second.
But I don't need to see the screen now anyway, so
Yeah.
you can make it completely dark.
Is it okay now?
Yeah, I think it's this.
Oh, okay, then I'll just
Oh, yes, that's what we do. Is it better? Okay. Okay. For this conversation in the WWD and IWC Schaffhausen Sustainability Summit webinar, I'm joined by two women who have been exploring the topic of sustainability together for some time. Kate Blanchett is, of course, a highly respected actor, producer, and a leading figure in the film industry, but also a passionate advocate for sustainability. Kate has been in conversation with IWC Schaffhausen's head of marketing and communications, Franziska Gsell, over the last couple of years, and I'm very excited to have them here with us today and for them to share their unique perspectives on sustainability. Kate, Franziska, welcome and thank you for being here. Okay. Kate, what does it mean for a business to go green? How important is, Kate, what does it mean for a business to go green? How important is it for companies to go above and beyond greening up and instead actively trying to have a positive impact? That could be actually, yeah. Yeah. Kate, what does it mean for a business to go green? How important is it for companies to go above and beyond greening up and instead actively trying to have a positive impact? I know that you had already some sustainable initiatives launched with the Sydney Theatre Company back in 2010. Maybe you can share a little more about this project with us. Okay. So Franziska, what does greening up and making a real impact mean for IWC? Mm-hmm. So I think that's how we had the question, right? There's nothing to add. Yes. Yes, we need them. Okay, let's stick to the question. Okay. Kate, you often shop your closet for important events as a statement on sustainability. I think IWC, with its focus on luxury lasting a lifetime, echoes this sentiment wholeheartedly. Do you agree? Okay. Fashion's preoccupation with the next big thing is often unsustainable, while watches are made to last for generations and have an inherently sustainable quality. Franziska, what do you think of that statement? Okay, number 4. Why is sustainability important to you personally? Okay. So, Kate, why is sustainability important to you personally? Mm. And Franziska, could you share with us your personal take on sustainability? Yes. And Franziska, could you share with us your sorry again. And Franziska, could you share with us your personal take on sustainability? Uh-huh. Kate, you have spoken previously about how it's paramount to look back on the past to find inspirations for the future. Could you give us a few examples? Franziska, would you agree this is something IWC champions too? Okay. Mm. Kate, what are the little things that all of us can do on a daily basis to promote sustainability? Once again, Kate, what are the little... Okay. Okay. Kate, what are the little things we all can do on a daily basis to be more sustainable? Kate, what are the daily things that everybody of us can do to be more sustainable? And Franziska, what does sustainability, sorry again. And Franziska, what role does sustainability play for your personal life? I don't know, let's put this in a different way. Okay. Okay. And Franziska, are there any little things that you do in your life to be more sustainable? Mm-hmm. So thank you very much, Kate and Francisca, for joining our webinar today. It was a truly inspiring conversation. And I just want to leave it with one sentence that Kate said before. Even as a consumer, we all have the power to change this world and make it a more sustainable one. Thank you so much. Okay. Mm. It, mm, mm. Mm. Okay. No, I think we should have enough because I'm now also I don't quite remember the flow, but I think there were some good points. And yes, if I think that the personal things were very nice, and also her thoughts about heritage and how we bring this back to IWC. Those were very nice points. And then of course we have the theater business and the watch business together. So should be okay, I think. Oh, thank you so much for your patience with me. Stumbling around. Thank you so much, Luke. Thank you. Bye-bye.